think that some of the things in this particular policy I find very, very troubling. I think that especially the requirement of schools to report back to parents on some of their students' activities. There could be a lot of situations where a child is not safe to tell their parents maybe some of the things that are going on at school, especially a queer kid who was in a family, for example, with homophobic parents, and then they've come out at school and they're living their best life and they don't want to tell their parents, and that's really valid. And I think that a policy that would basically enshrine that schools have to disclose would go against that child's rights, and I would always put children's rights ahead of parents' rights. So although parents' rights are important, and I do think parents need to know how to help their children, because most parents are their children's best advocate, right? I mean, most parents are, but that's not always the case, and I think we have to be aware of both things, and so enshrining parents' rights at the expense of children's rights is the wrong way to go, in my opinion. Thanks. Does anyone else want to speak to the policy? Trustee Swanky.
Thank you, Chair. I think a lot of the points, I would echo several of them. I think the piece that I would add, it's been mentioned that the absence of a connection and communication plan, that's separate from any of this. A policy is not a communication plan. A policy is not a relationship builder, and it doesn't help inform discussions and build trust in schools. Relationships do. So I say that saying I will oppose this policy. I think it would have been more in order to put this discussion off. But I think it's the relationships that ultimately are about trust in schools, not any policy that won't change the fact that maybe there's trust that needs to be repaired in some instances, and trust that just needs to continue to be fostered within our school community. So I speak again against the proposed policy, and thank you.
All right. Okay, Trustee Prose.
Could I ask clarification what you mean by relationship, and what does that look like?
Feel free to answer, Trustee Swanky.
Thank you. I think that if you're looking for where, I don't need a parent to have trust in me. I hope that they do. I hope that parents trust me, but more importantly, they need to trust the teachers working with their child every day. They need to trust the administrators, the EAs, everybody inside that school community. So those relationships, in my view, Chair, speaking through the Chair, of course, that is the important piece. And so a relationship, or pardon me, a policy, and I'm speaking to it, please call me out of order if I am Chair, but a policy outlining the rights without talking about the responsibilities and all the other pieces within a school community that are a piece of that trust does not help ensure that we have a relationships informed by trust within our school communities.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we're just about ready to vote. It looks like everyone's had a chance to. Oh, Trustee Maahs, you'd like to close out? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. So parents' trust, that's after hearing some of the comments, I'm very concerned about the fact of parents' trust if people are making judgment calls about parenting their children around gender issues, which is another reason that this policy really needs to be enshrined. We received an email today with a beautiful set of circumstances and outlines of all the places and reasons why this policy would work from the teachers union this morning. And I said thank you for the policy that, or the email that was sent to us, because it actually does outline. Am I still on?
I'm interrupting, point of clarity, that's misrepresenting what the teachers submitted in a pretty severe way. So I don't think that's very respectful to the CTA who was present in the room.
Okay, let me reword it then. So the CTA sent an email to us opposing my parental rights policy.
That's much more honest.
Thank you. And this was sent this morning. So they actually have debated this policy with this board before the board even had a chance to discuss the board at the table, which I believe is actually quite unethical. Anyway,
that's enough. Okay, so thank you very, very much to the CTA for sending your feedback before the board meeting, and I encourage all partner groups, QP, DPAC, to do that, because it really helps the board when we can see stuff in advance and we can think about it before we come to the meeting, because your 2 minutes at the mic is not very sufficient for us to make good decisions. So thank you so much for that. We won't always listen, or sorry, we'll always listen. We won't always do what you say, but it's very, very important to us to have that time to think. And I would thank trustees to not disparage partner groups in public meetings. Thank you very much.
I did not disparage the CTA. I merely made a statement about.
Thank you. All right, so all those in favor of approving the policy for parents, guardians' rights as presented? Opposed? Motion fails. Okay.